All right, welcome in. Welcome back to the BFR Podcast presented by Sports Mockery. My name is Dave. I cover the Chicago Bears for Sports Mockery. Check out all my work on all socials at Dave_BFR. I'm joined by my good friend, co-host Ficky. Follow him on all socials at It's Ficky Baby. And then, of course, right here in the middle, the man of the hour, we have Ari Meirov from the 33rd team. He's an NFL Insider. He's a legend. Ari, first of all, we know you're busy. Free agency's coming. It's next week. First of all, how you doing, man? How you handling it all?
I'm doing well. I love this time of year, especially now. A lot of, family and friends know what I do. And then as soon as the Super Bowl ends, they always ask me, all right, the season is over. What do you have doing now? And it's like, oh, you guys have no idea. Like my regular season is the off season. So this time of year is always chaotic, and it's especially chaotic right now in Chicago.
Yeah, speaking of Chicago, obviously it's been, obviously the national story just because the Bears do have the first pick once again. So I kind of want to start off before we hop into it. How did you kind of get into this business? When did you start? And has this always been a passion of yours?
Yeah, it's always been a passion of mine. My route, I guess, compared to everyone else, is a bit more unique. I always was more of an avid NFL fan, like everyone is in this business. But in 2013, just decided to start a Twitter account as an avid fan and was like, you know what? I love the news aspect. I love free agency. I love the draft, and all those different things. So I just wanted to put all the NFL news in one spot because there's information coming from so many different places. And it was just a hobby. Let me just try this out. And after doing it for a couple of years, I just started seeing like the account was growing. People liked what I was doing. So I was like, hey, maybe I got something going on over here. And eventually, as the time went on, you start seeing players are following you. Then you have, reporters are following you. Then you have some agents following, and more and more. And it's like I'm doing something right over here. And at the time, I don't know if you guys remember this and how long you've been following, but my name was not on the account. It used to just be called NFL Updates. So It was about a couple of years ago when PFF reached out to me and they were like, hey, how many people run this account? Who is this? And I was like, it's just one person. And they're like, yo, we would love to meet with you and talk a little bit because they wanted to start a news division. So we had a meeting and they were like, hey, we would love to bring you on, be our news guy. And as a result, we would make this as your full-time job. You get to go to the combine, get to go to all these events, start building your relationships and connections. And this is like it was like my dream, essentially. I mean, I never thought this would happen. I had a full-time job somewhere else doing real estate, and now this was going to be my full-time thing. So that's kind of the story behind all of it. And then last year, I moved over to a new company, the 33rd team, which is run by Mike Tannenbaum, and this has really become my thing now. And you learn how the sausage is made, learn how all the behind-the-scenes stuff happened, read a lot of books, how the salary cap works, and on. And you get a good sense of how the league works. So if you asked me in 2013 if this would happen, I would have told you no chance. But here we are here in 2024.
Dude, that's awesome. Dude, that's an awesome story. I was just talking to Fick offline. He's like, is Ari kind of new? How long has he been doing this? And I was like, no, I've been following since you kind of said about when your name wasn't even on the account. So I thought it was pretty interesting, the grind within itself. But all right, now with the Chicago market, obviously the national story right now is at the quarterback. So I'll go ahead and start with that. There's other topics we want to get to that are really intriguing, but right now that's kind of what's demanding the spotlight. So first of all, you were at the combine. What were your initial takeaways for what the Bears were going to do at quarterback? Because right now we're hearing Caleb Williams, but like, what are you hearing?
Well, I like to, especially when you have teams who have big decisions to make, everyone is chasing after them. Like everyone is trying to find someone from Chicago to talk to. And give credit to Ryan Poles and his staff. They've done a really good job of keeping stuff quiet. But you try to read between the lines, right? And when Ryan Poles does his media session and mentions we're going to do right by Justin, and if we trade him, we want to do before free agency, he's kind of letting us know that is kind of the direction that they're leaning in. And they've been doing homework on all these quarterbacks for months and months. Meeting Caleb Williams for the first time was there at the combine, but they've done all the research. They interviewed his, Cliff Kingsbury just to get even more information from him. They've talked to so many people, like everyone. The sense is that they're going to use the number one overall pick on a quarterback and then try to trade Justin Fields. The interesting part that I've been monitoring a lot of is who is interested in Justin Fields. And I know a lot of people have thrown around, they could probably get a second round pick for him and all of that. I am curious to see if it ends up being they're trading Justin Fields, what is the actual return? Because people think of just a player. There's also the contract element, right? There's 25 million in 50-year option. You're not getting him on the cheaper side of the rookie contract. You're getting him on the expensive side, where eventually, if he has one more good year, you're paying him 40, 45, $50 million per year. So it would not surprise me if the Bears are trying to trade Justin Fields right now, but what they're getting back is not what they thought, especially when the teams who would be interested, we mentioned Atlanta, we mentioned the Steelers. Are they really interested? Like Atlanta, everyone's pointing to Kirk Cousins. The Steelers, all the reports are like, maybe they're not interested. So which teams are interested and what is the return going to be? I think that part of it is fascinating.
Okay. There was a comment here real quick. It was from my friend Austin. He's really interested in Justin Fields to Pittsburgh. Are they, you touched on it a second ago, but are they actually real contenders? Have you heard anything about how serious maybe they are interested in Justin Fields, that they have Kenny Pickett and everything like that?
The one thing about the Steelers over the years and historically is that they don't give up on players as fast as other teams, right? Kenny Pickett's been there for 2 years. There's been injuries. There's been questions about the offensive coordinator right there, Matt Canada. I don't know if they're ready to pull the plug on him. I think they want to bring in someone who's going to compete with him. And I don't think they're looking to bring in someone who's going to come in right away and overtake him. That's why you keep on hearing about this stuff where it's Pickett versus Rudolph, or maybe we'll add a different lower level backup. Maybe bring back a guy like Josh Dobbs who could come in, right? I don't know if they are a Justin Fields team. And on top of that, their new offense coordinator is Arthur Smith. It felt like he had opportunities to take Justin Fields over the years in Atlanta, right? Number 4 overall pick, they took Kyle Pitts. Last year, there was talk about will there be a team who wants to trade for Justin Fields? Right away, they were like, no, we're sticking with the Desmond Ridder plan. So he's never been someone who wants Justin Fields, whether it was in the draft or trying to trade for him. So based off, again, reading the lines, the way the Steelers operate, the way Arthur Smith has operated previously, I don't feel like they are a real destination here, unless that maybe like the asking price is significantly lower. It's like, why not? Let's just do this.
Okay, that's good stuff.
Ari, you made some call outs already about some teams that, in the beginning we thought were interested, right? You just talked about the Steelers. They're probably sticking with Kenny Pickett. Falcons, most likely not happening. So there's been talks right now that the trade value of Fields is not as high as what a lot of us expected going in. So my first question is, where do you see the real value for, what compensation can we get back for Justin Fields? And have you heard any rumblings about maybe a team out there that a lot of us aren't expecting, right? Because right now it's been Falcons, Steelers, that's about it. So is there any other rumblings that you've heard where you're like, you know what, this might be a dark horse that really pulls the trigger, and makes them move forward?
The one thing that I thought about a lot is if Ryan Poles can't get the compensation he's looking for, right? Everyone keeps on mentioning the second round pick plus something else. If he can't do that, I think he's going to have to try to get a little bit creative where you add those conditions on those picks, where it starts as a 4, goes down to 3 if he does something else, and then becomes a 2 if he makes the playoffs or something, right? You got to get a little bit more creative, which is what the Jets, for example, did last year with the Aaron Rodgers trade. It was a 2nd that could become a 1 if he plays, I think, 65% of the snaps. Do something like that if you feel like you aren't getting the value for Justin Fields that you initially thought you could get. As for other teams, the one team that I've been just eyeing a little bit, and nobody has really brought them up. I am curious a little bit about what's going on in Seattle, because there's Geno Smith is there, and Geno Smith, they haven't fully committed to him. His contract isn't a huge contract. He might still be there. He might be a viable backup guy as well. They just hired a new head coach in Mike Macdonald. Mike Macdonald, of course, comes from Baltimore, where you have the Lamar Jackson thing. His offensive coordinator is Ryan Grubb. Does he really believe that Geno Smith is the answer, or does he want to get somebody of his own? And is Justin Fields somebody that he likes? So we've seen Seattle making all these moves already, moving on from all these players, Jamal Adams, Quandre Diggs, Will Dissly, and on. They're starting a new era. It's no longer Pete Carroll. The thing about Seattle is that Pete Carroll had control over John Schneider. Now John Schneider has actual control as a general manager. He's making all the moves. So no one has brought them up. I'm not saying it's for sure happening, but I think that's a team that their quarterback situation is so interesting and intriguing. Now that Pete is no longer running the show, what does John really want, and what does Mike now want that he's running a team?
Would that be more of Fields comes in, sits behind Geno? Because, I mean, again, they didn't go all in on Geno, but they did pay him his bonus this year. Or do you see it the opposite? Fields comes in, he's more likely QB1. Maybe there's a QB battle, and Geno is kind of sitting behind him.
Yeah, I mean, let's just say that was to happen. Seattle, before Geno Smith became the quarterback there, he had a competition with Drew Lock. Before Russell Wilson was the quarterback, he had a competition with Matt Flynn. They've done this before. So it would be perfectly fine to bring him in and then have a competition and best man wins. And Seattle loves competition. That has been their thing. I mean, over the years, they have a good culture. They have a good vibe. Best man wins. Best player gets on the field no matter where you were drafted or whatever. So I just feel like that's a team that no one is talking about their quarterback situation. Everyone just thinks it's Geno Smith and that's it. Even if he's still on the roster, it does not mean that he's the guaranteed starter. Drew Lock is a free agent. I think that team is just very interesting with what they're doing at quarterback.
That's really interesting. I have not really been thinking about Seattle. It's been such a focus on obviously the Pittsburgh. I heard New England maybe, of course, and then Atlanta. But I want to kind of shift from the quarterback to the running back. Surprisingly, it's a crazy free agent class, as you know, Ari. I think you had a great. I think you have an article here that kind of keeps tracks of everything that's going on, which I find very useful. We'll have that in the link in the description. But the running backs right now, Saquon Barkley, there's a lot of talk about him potentially being linked to Chicago, but Josh Jacobs as well from ESPN 1000 was another target that the Bears, I guess, are eyeing. So first of all, have you heard anything on the running back situation that may be linked to Chicago, whether it's Saquon or even Josh Jacobs?
Yeah, the entire running back market dynamic is so interesting because, like you said, there are so many guys who are going to become free agents, which makes the market itself interesting. Like, are these guys actually going to get the money they want? Because the supply outweighs the demand right now. I mean, look at the players. It's Saquon, it's Jacobs, it's Derrick Henry, it's Austin Eckler, DeAndre Swift, Tony Pollard, Devin Singletary, J.K. Dobbins, Zach Moss, just go on and on. Ezekiel Elliott, it doesn't stop. You know what I mean? So there are so many guys, and if these guys are looking to get paid, maybe one or two of them get paid, and everyone else is looking around like, I need more money, and nobody's offering it. We're just going to sit around. So I don't really know if the thing with Saquon is that he has played 6 years already with the Giants and has not gotten his money. So I feel like he is someone who is looking to get the biggest offer. I'm going there. End of story. I'll give the Giants the right to match. If they say no, that is it. For Josh Jacobs, I just have a hard time seeing him not back in Vegas, especially with Antonio Pierce there. Pierce has 3 core players. It's Max Crosby, Devontae Adams, Josh Jacobs. I feel like he needs all 3 of them there. The tag was way too expensive. It was $14 million. They were not going to do that. But finding the middle ground, it just makes too much sense for him to be back there and not somewhere else. We'll see if that gets done. But the running back market as a whole, there are going to be so many guys out there, and there's going to be some really, really good value out there once the money dries up. It's just going to happen. So I don't know if Ryan Poles is going for a big name. Saquon does bring a business element with him, with jersey sales, it's excitement, it's ticket sales, and all of that. But when it comes to all the other guys, I guarantee you there will be some teams who are going to sign some of these guys for 1 year, 3.5, and it's like, holy cow, how did we do that? So that is what I'll be keeping an eye on with a team like Chicago, probably.
How do you feel about someone then like Derrick Henry, right? You know, he's been paid before. So do you think he's looking for record breaking or the top of the line? I mean, well deserved because he is one of the best running backs in the league. Yeah. But what do you think his motivation is, and what path does that lead him to? Could you see him on the Bears?
So Derrick Henry actually came really close to getting traded to the Ravens before the trade deadline, and Titans ownership, it sounds like, stepped in and said, let him finish the season here because he's meant so much to Tennessee. I kind of have a feeling, I mean, he's broken all the rules when it comes to running backs. Like the fact that he got a 4-year extension and played out all 4 years and even got a raise in the middle of it is crazy. His body, like everyone said, at some point it's going to break down. It didn't. He's still going. There's this crazy workout video of him going around today. So this guy is a beast, but it kind of feels like this is somebody who wants to win that Super Bowl. And as long as he's able to finally get a decent contract with a good team, like, could you imagine him actually going to Baltimore and having a backfield of Lamar and Derrick Henry? That just makes so much sense, right? So it wouldn't surprise me if Baltimore makes another run. I don't really know if it's really with Chicago. I might be wrong, but I don't know if it really makes much sense either. So I feel like he's looking for a contending team that is at least willing to pay him, commitment money, I guess.
Okay. Ari, I'm going to put you on the spot here. If they do sign a running back, who's it going to be in Chicago? Tony Pollard, maybe?
Pollard is an interesting name. I'm looking at the list over here. I mean, DeAndre Swift is a very interesting name as well. I mean, there are guys over here. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is somebody who I know Ryan Poles was there when he was drafted. Do you want to take a minimum probably type of deal with him? Do you want to take a division rival like AJ Dillon? There are guys out there. The thing is going to be who are going to be the guys who are worth the value, because even last year they signed what? It was Dante Foreman for 1 year and 2. It was Travis Homer. Like, they weren't big fish swinging at the running backs. Like, I don't know if he is somebody who wants to spend big money on running backs. Definitely up until now, he has not shown that he's willing to do that.
Yeah, good point. And then another class right now that's kind of dried up really quick was the receiving market, right? I think Calvin Ridley, Darnell Mooney's there. Who else am I missing here? You just
Higgins,
talked about him.
Or he got tagged, didn't he?
Yeah.
You have a Marquise Brown and Tyler Boyd. The T. Higgins situation is interesting because he could be a tag and trade, but it definitely has dried up. It's dried up a little bit over here.
Curtis Samuel, I think, as well. Anyways, do you see the Bears maybe taking a shot on like a Calvin Ridley, or where do you think Ridley may end up when it's all said and done in free agency?
Yeah, so Ridley immediately becomes the top free agent really out there, and he's interesting because he's an older second contract guy. He came into the league older. There was the 1 year suspension, which made his entire contract whole. Played out an entire, I guess, 6 years now, and now he's a free agent. He's looking for whoever pays the most money. That's really what he's looking for. He's never gotten that second contract, and Jacksonville wants him back. There's a little bit of a belief over here that because there's the terms of the trade when the Falcons and Jaguars did it, the way it was done is that if he was to sign an extension with Jacksonville, they would owe a second round pick to Atlanta. The way for that to go away is if it does become a free agent on March 11th, then signs back with the Jaguars, it does not become a second round pick. So there is a scenario here where they could have a deal already done, but they'll let him become a free agent and then sign back, so they're able to keep that pick. Jaguars want him back, but again, he is going to go for the most money, but it also wouldn't surprise me if there's a bit of a wink agreement, just sign on March 13th.
Interesting. We'll see. All those deals get done so quick sometimes on that deadline when it
I love when they have when we reach the actual tampering period, and I'm like, hasn't the tampering period been like, it wasn't that like a couple of weeks ago? Like these guys have been talking, let's be real. So that's what makes it fun, though.
So, Ari, a couple more questions before we let you go. Jaylon Johnson, we all kind of knew, we all kind of heard it was leaning towards the franchise tag. There was hope maybe that a deal might get done with Ryan Poles in his presser at the Combine. First of all, are you surprised that he got franchise tagged? And do you think a deal gets done by July 15th, or do you think Jaylon Johnson's playing next year on that tag?
Frankly, it's surprising to me that we're still talking about this and the deal has not gotten done. I mean, I'll say this much. The Bears made a very, very strong effort here in the last couple of weeks to get a deal done. And frankly, I felt like the offer they had on the table was something Jaylon should have accepted. It was not going to make him the highest paid cornerback in the NFL, but there were metrics in there that would have beaten Jair Alexander's deal in Green Bay. And the thing about it is, initially the Bears were offering a 5-year deal. They actually dropped it down to 4 years on Monday or Tuesday before the tag deadline, and that still wasn't enough for him. So I kind of feel like the Bears went all out and it still didn't work out for whatever reason. They're going to keep on trying. I am a little bit concerned with the way Jaylon Johnson over this last year, he got permission to seek a trade. There were 3 teams who were seriously interested. It was, if I recall correctly, it was Buffalo, San Francisco, and Pittsburgh. Obviously, Ryan said he was looking for a late first, early second. No one wanted to do it. The thing with him is that if this keeps on going to a point where he's not satisfied, does he request again? He didn't do it up until now. They're going to keep on talking. Maybe it'll go a couple more weeks or a couple more months. They have until July 15, like you said. But this is a person who up until now has been willing to go public about it. He's been willing to go on radio shows. He's been willing to do a public trade request. He's gotten a trade request. So I think he wants to become the highest paid cornerback. I don't know the Bears want to go there. I think the cap spiking by $30+ million did change some things in all of this for him. But it kind of felt like the Bears thought that they were in a good spot. Even Ryan coming out at his presser and saying, we got good cash flows, we're doing well. Like, no GM does that. He felt confident they were going to get it done. And for whatever reason, it didn't. They'll keep on trying. But if they don't, I'm going to keep an eye on Jaylon Johnson's actions and if he does anything again.
All right. From what I've heard, and you're way more connected than I, but is it anything to do with like guarantees? Like, does he want more guaranteed money that the Bears are maybe willing to give?
I did not get a sense it was a guarantee problem. I think it was an APY problem, and he wants to top Jair's 21.05, I think it is, and get over it, which the Bears didn't want to go there. So there's just a thing where players want to say, I'm the highest paid cornerback in the NFL. I'm on top of that list, and that wasn't going to get him there. Again, the metrics of the deal that the Bears were offering, it felt fair. It felt like something he probably should have accepted, and I think most players in this situation would have. Jaylon also switched agents last year, so he's been doing a lot trying to figure this entire thing out, and it hasn't happened yet. So we'll see what happens. I don't think it was a guarantee problem. I think it's an APY issue.
Okay.
So Ari, if you're a betting man, 2026, is Jaylon Johnson on the Chicago Bears or is he somewhere else?
I think Ryan has made it clear he wants him to be a Chicago Bear. I mean, it's just so funny seeing how contracts work. You trade for Montez Sweat, you get a deal done in 2 days, and you have a player here for over a year, right? So this stuff is crazy. But no, Ryan has made his intentions clear. He wants him to be a Bear. They have the money to spend. They care about their defense. He fits Eberflus. He's a core player. He's a young player. It just makes all the sense in the world to figure it out. They just haven't been able to. And sometimes that happens in contract. It takes some time. Sometimes it takes 2 days, like we said. Sometimes it'll take over a year. But if you made me pick right now, I would pick that he'll be a Bear because Ryan doesn't want to let him go.
I love it. All right, one last question. Oh, go ahead, Vic.
No, I was going to say, because we've already experienced that with Roquan. We all felt that Roquan was going to be on this team.
Yep.
Ryan Poles came out and said, hey, I want him to be on this team. And then next, bye-bye Roquan. So I'm just kind of, like you said, you mentioned you're a little bit concerned. I think Dave and I are as well. So go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Premier position, corner, linebacker. So hopefully you got to get a deal done. But last question. It's in the chat. We've seen it so many times here. Is there any chance in your like, from what you're hearing, or maybe your gut, is there any chance that the Bears move off the number 1 pick and keep Justin Fields? Because it is split down the line, I think 50-50 right now in Chicago when it comes to the quarterback, conversation, which is surprising to some, especially outside of Chicago. They think Caleb Williams is a done deal. But is there any chance in your mind that that's a possibility?
One thing I've learned by covering this league is never say never. So I'm not going to say it's not possible. I just feel like, there's so much behind the scenes work that personnel members do during the draft process. There would have to be a major red flag that pops up somewhere where they're like, okay, we might have to strongly consider this and look somewhere else. That happens sometimes. We never hear about what it was. I'm just saying the belief throughout Indianapolis was that they are going to use that number 1 overall pick. They're going to get Caleb. I mean, look at all their actions of hiring Shane Waldron as well. And there's just the actions tell you they're going to reset the clock over here and get this quarterback who everyone talks about highly. And the thing is, like, Caleb came across there at the combine as somebody who people genuinely love. Like, there's been some concerns about, is this guy too much of this or too much of that? I think he answered those questions all in one day. Now, there'll be more research for sure. But my point is, the way he acted publicly at the podium, around people, the interviews, and on, it felt like everyone was blown away. And the Bears have been doing research for months and months. So there would have to be something that pops off that just stuns them to the point where, all right, maybe we should consider this. But I just don't see that happening.
Wow. Well, hey, there it is. I mean, that's what we're all hearing. All right, we appreciate it, man. First of all, is there anything you're working on right now that you kind of want to shout before we let you go?
Yeah, I mean, just go check out the 3013.com. We have everything for agency over there. Our free agency tracker, which I am personally handling, is up on the website. Your up-to-the-minute details there. And just follow me on Twitter at MySportsUpdate. Get all your NFL news in one spot, like we said at the beginning of all this.
Yeah, there's no way no one watching this isn't following you. You are literally the face of NFL Twitter, so congrats on that.
I really have no idea how you do it, because you are, I mean, every 3 minutes, I feel like you're tweeting something. You're all over it. That article you just mentioned is amazing. I just found it today. I think you tweeted it out, and I was like, okay, I bookmarked it right away. It's phenomenal. It's updated almost in real time, I feel like. So, Ari, thank you so much, man. All your stuff is in our description, and you have a great hopefully you're able to relax here in the next couple of weeks, man, before the draft.
Well, I hope so too. Dave, Ficky, it was great to be on, and best of luck moving forward.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it.
All right. So that was Ari Meirov. Make sure I'm saying that right. And we'll go ahead and fix the layout here. But what a fun interview. First of all, Ari's amazing. He's been around the league for a while now. He's very, very connected. So first of all, him taking the time during this peak of the NFL offseason can be slow, but right now this is where you can see it on your Twitter timeline. I mean, look at the Bills. They just cut 7 people. I mean, it is moving super, super quick. But he took the time to kind of talk with us, gave some great insight. Ficky, any big takeaways from our conversation here?
I mean, I'm just glad the last question we were able to ask, because I feel like we all kind of agree. I just want people to know this isn't from us, from biased fans. You know what I mean? This is from the man himself, who definitely is tapped in around what the conversations are. Right.
Yeah.
So I like I said, I've been trying to brace people, like whatever side you're a fan of. It's like, we don't have a choice. This is probably going to happen. The Bears are probably going to draft Caleb Williams, unless he did make a great point. He said, unless a major red flag that comes up. So really there's only, in my hypothesis, there's only like 2 situations that could come up that would be red flags. Obviously something criminal. Hopefully that's not the case. I don't think that's the case, but that would be it. Kind of like a Jalen Carter situation. Or when they get his medicals, they find out something that they didn't have information on before. But Ari said they've been doing tons of research. I don't know if you guys know this, but the NFL, they get like private investigators. They get like people that go deep into these guys' lives, and they learn like every little thing about them. So I would be very surprised if there's some new information, like Ari said, that would then be such a big red flag that they don't take them. So, but you know what? I think what's good too is that the Bears are in a situation that like we were able to ask, like, what about these running backs? What about these wide receivers, right? Like, we're in a spot where we have the cap space and we're like good enough that we can actually attract some of these potential signings. So I think that's also exciting about this free agency. It's not like we're locked, like we're like, oh, well, we have no money. We're the Bills and we have to, like you said, cut 8 people, or we're so
But just
bad,
a few years ago, we were, man. Just a few years ago, we were loading off
Facts.
Khalil Mack. We were, Akeem Hicks' tenure was coming to an end. Roquan, it was tough. I think we could have paid him, of course, but there's just a few years ago, we were in a very similar situation. Now, due to Ryan Poles and what he's, no matter how you feel, you got to be. I mean, you're crazy if you don't think he's done a really good job at just kind of rebuilding this roster, influx with youth, talent. And it's our free agency pod. Obviously, we had Ari on here to kind of talk about it, give us a little bit of some nuggets that he's hearing around the league. But before we hop into it, I have one more takeaway from that one was Jaylon Johnson. I think one of the biggest takeaways for me was what was on the table. Because I've heard a couple things, but to hear it from Ari almost confirms everything. 5-year deal. Sure, I'm sure there's a couple outs maybe in there and whatnot, but for me, the fact that it was competitive, we heard about Poles, he said it during the combine, he felt like a deal was going to get done. He kind of had that confidence about him, but the fact that Jaylon turned down a 5-year deal and then a 4-year deal on Monday, right? We don't know the numbers, but it's pretty damn close. I guarantee you it's close to Jair Alexander, but the fact that Jaylon wants to be the number 1 paid quarterback, I mean, I get it. All pro, had a great season. But for me, a little hometown discount or something. Like, why can't you take a 4 or 5-year deal? I wonder what the numbers were, because I guarantee it was probably in that 20. It was at least 20.
You got to think about it though. Plays a prime position, had the best year of his career, has not been paid yet. So it makes, like, from a personal standpoint, if I was in JJ's shoes, I would be like, yo, I have not been paid, because
but does that ball production
or so?
But does that ball production the years prior, like, that kind of stands out to me? It's like, you had a good year. Okay, prove it to me again. We're still going to take care of you. But this is our concerns. We want you to stay in Chicago. Here's the deal. And the fact that Jaylon wants to stay and he wants to get paid. And for me, it's just, for some reason, it kind of just sucks. Like, I would have rather have had, this kind of all play out, better. The fact that it's done, we don't have to worry about the tag. It will make Hard Knocks better, as far as the drama, maybe. But for me, I don't know. Maybe I'm picking, being too picky.
Well, of course we want it. No, yeah, I agree with you. Of course we want the deal done. No one wants to franchise tag and then we have to deal with these questions again. We want to know that we have a homegrown core piece of this defense on our team moving forward. Because like I said to Ari, We just saw this with Roquan Smith. We don't want to go down that path again. Not saying it's going to, but we've literally seen the other side of the coin not that long ago. So, I'm not surprised he didn't want a 5-year. I feel like nowadays in the NFL, you're seeing a lot of them want to get the short deal because they want to hit the free agency again at a young age. Let's be real. This is the NFL, not the NBA. You get like 6 good years. So you want to hit that one again and then re-up because you'll normally be higher than the one previously. So, I think based on what Ari said, I still feel comfortable that the deal's going to get done. But I think it's fair to say it is a little concerning that they're not as close as what I guess we would like. We don't know the exact numbers, but, it's good that at least both sides have been positive about it. And we haven't had the Roquan message that says, calling out the GM, on his Instagram and whatnot, basically saying I'm requesting a trade. It could get to that point, but we're not there yet. So I'm kind of like, I'll let Poles handle business on the back end and hopefully get the deal done.
No, I think I'm with you, Ficky. I think the deal will get done. I'm just like, could we have not just like, we have a lot of drama going on right now. Can we not just lock up a premier corner, And it is funny. Ari kind of touched on it. Montez Sweat deal got done quick. But I mean, when you're trading for a guy like that, the extension has to be almost in place. Otherwise, it's risky as fuck, simple
risky as hell. How would you trade a second rounder and then not be like, I don't know if it's going to be in my team.
But it's happened. It's happened. I mean, Claypool.
Chase Young, literally his teammate, traded San Francisco. He's now he'll be a free agent after this year. So, they didn't lock him down.
But hey, before we hop in, this is our free agency pod. This is something we're going to go through our top targets that we want the Bears to pursue here in less than a week. Deals will be Monday and Tuesday is going to be fucking crazy. The roster is going to look hopefully different. There should be a lot of talent coming in, a lot of money going out, and there's a lot to get to. But before we do, if you enjoyed that portion with Ari and it's your first time being here, if you can go ahead and sub to the YouTube channel. If you're listening on Apple, Spotify, rate the pod there. BFR Podcast, we cover all things Chicago Bears, and we do about an episode a week during the off season, and we've been doing it for quite a while. We're almost to 4,000 subs on YouTube, so if you can hit that sub button, it truly means a lot. If you're here, hit the like button as well. It really does help. It's a easy way to help promote the community, the channel, and everything like that. And Ficky, you want to go ahead and get to your part?
Yeah, of course.
New face gang and everything like that.
If you're new here, first off, thank you for.
We haven't done this in a while either.
We haven't. I know.
Shame on us.
Bad. Shame on us is a fact. But if you're new here, first off, thank you for hopping on the show. We really appreciate it. Go ahead and leave a hashtag New Face Gang in the comments. We'll have Jack, our producer, share them near the end of the show and give you guys a shout out. And also, I know there's a bunch of OGs in here because I've already seen some of your comments. If you're an OG in here, you've been in here. Whatever you consider to be OG, even if it's your second time, fuck it. That's an OG to me. Go ahead and give a hashtag OG in the chat, and we'll give you a shout out as well. We appreciate all of y'all. We're really trying to build a community because, like y'all, me and Dave, we're not NFL insiders. We're Bears fans, just like y'all. So it's great to actually build this community of fanship or fandom, I should say. I don't know if fanship's a word. I just made that up. We'll put that on the shirt, but we appreciate everyone here.
Well, first of all, and I think Jack put it in the, first of all, our producer, Jack, put a question. If you guys have a question for either I or Ficky, go ahead and ask it. We're going to go ahead and bookmark it, star it, and we'll get to it hopefully at the end. We like to kind of just open up the last 20 minutes of the show just for questions of you guys joining us in the chat live. We appreciate you taking the time. Also, definitely not an insider, but I am going to give myself kudos. That Devin Hester news, Hall of Fame, kind of broke that one, Ficky. I was nervous too, man. I was nervous. If I'm wrong on that, I think I got to retire from Bears Twitter, Bears everything, Facebook. I don't think I'm allowed on any platform.
Well, give me your profile first if that's happening. I'll take it over if that's the case.
Take the handle.
Don't let that one die. Yeah. So,
no, absolutely.
No, but I'll say this: we're not NFL insiders, but we do have some people that know some stuff, which is nice. But but we watch the games just like y'all. And honestly, it's great to hear Ari talk about how he was just an NFL fan. There's one question I actually wanted to ask, which I didn't know, is who's his favorite team? Do you happen to know? Because you can't tell from anything he shares.
I think he's a Jets fan. I think he's a Jets fan.
From New York? Okay.
I think so. I've seen him. I've seen his tweets a little bit. Yeah, I know, right? But no, absolutely. And here's the thing: a lot of people are connected, but no one had the Ryan Bates story, and I'm going to bring it up. I mean, that came out of left field, right? I mean, I didn't hear one person talking about Ryan Bates unless it was 2 years ago when Ryan Poles was pursuing him. So
what about?
I thought.
There's even bigger. We just talked about Montez Sweat. No one really talked about that. We knew we needed a DN, but not until
pure speculation.
Right. But there wasn't anything like, the Bears are looking at Montez. So I think there's something important in that where it's like, there is stuff that some people know when you talk about like who QB1 is. That makes more sense because it's such a big topic. But there's so many holes to fill on this team that there's no way that Poles is, because at the end of the day, information gets leaked probably because Poles team or Chicago Bears team is saying, hey, put this narrative out there about this X, Y, and Z. So they're not leaking everything. That wouldn't even make sense.
I will say that this GM, Ryan Poles, and this his team around him is a lot tight-lipped, closer to the vest than I've ever seen. And we haven't covered the Bears forever. We've been fans, long before we had a podcast, long before I started writing articles, everything like that. So for me, Ryan Pace, absolutely. I feel like there was a lot of people that had at least a person or two that were close enough to Ryan Pace that were able to get some information, some tidbits. We know them. I feel like the Bears blog, you look at Greg Gabriel, you look at some of these guys, you feel like they were connected, at least with that regime. This one, it's entirely different, man, which I appreciate. Keeps us on our toes. And when big trades happen, which
it's nice.
It's nice. It's fun. You really are surprised. So, I mean, Claypool, Montez Sweat.
Didn't know. Yep.
Yeah. Now T. Higgins, Higgins, apparently. Just kidding.
Breaking news.
People are going to be listening to this on Apple Spotify. They're like, what?
But no, I think it is fun. But you know what's weird is that at the podium, though, Ryan Poles is almost the opposite. He's very transparent. Ryan Pace did not talk in the magnitude of here's my honest take on all of this, right? Well, Ryan Poles does. He doesn't leak out information, but if you ask him the question, he'll most likely give you more information than what other GMs will, which also is nice to hear from a fan perspective, because a lot of times we're in the dark about what's the goal of this team? What's your thoughts about this situation? So that mixed with the talent he's built in here, the way he's built this team, there's no reason for me to not be happy about the future, about what Ryan Poles has cooking up, the draft, free agency. I think we're in a good spot.
No. Yeah, I agree. Anyways, though, first of all, again, shout out to Ari. If you missed that part of the video, if you're on YouTube, you can go ahead and scroll back. It's very first 20, 25 minutes or so. We had Ari on. A lot of good stuff, a lot of good nuggets. Highly suggest go back and look at it, or go ahead and watch it. Now we're going to move on to NFL free agency. It's less than a week away.
Yeah.
Monday is the start, but truly it's starting right now. We look at the Bills. They just kind of took a hatchet to their roster. They had to, though, because of the cap. We've been in cap hell before.
$40 million in cap.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Negative $40 million. That is crazy.
It is crazy. But I want to start with Ryan Bates. The Bears made a trade for him. Who would have thought the first trade that Ryan Poles made was for, I guess, that type of player, a Lucas Patrick-esque. So, Ficky, before I kind of give my thoughts on it, Ryan Bates, it was a 5th-round pick, right? If I'm not mistaken, 2024. Initial thoughts.
So if we look at not compensation and just the player, I think it's great. You're bringing in someone who easily could be your swing interior lineman. He started before. He started at center 35 snaps last year. He obviously was good in he was a person at the top of their list because a couple years ago, 2 years ago, they gave him a deal of 4 years, but he was a restricted free agent. And the Bills matched it, so we did not grab him, right? So he didn't come to us. But Ryan Poles obviously thought he was good enough back then that he wanted him on that team, and it just makes sense that he would go for that same type of player now. Now, if he's our starting center, am I super excited about that? No, because I view him as more of a depth piece. But if he has to start for, let's be real, Tevin Jenkins has gotten injured a lot, in his career. Great player, probably our best offensive player, but definitely has injury history. Nate Davis got injured last year as well. And we've talked about this. The O-line is the trenches. They get hurt all the time. You need as many quality depth pieces. So from that standpoint, I say, you know what? That's good. It's not moving the needle where I'm like, wow, we're Super Bowl contenders or anything like that. But it's definitely like, that's a good person to have on the team. Now, if you look at it from the trade compensation standpoint, it's a 5th rounder. If you look at the history of 5th rounders, like you can find some good people, but it's not like that's such a high mark of a hit rate that it's not worth taking the risk, right? 5th rounders miss all the time, right? It's not a 2nd rounder. It's not a 3rd rounder that you find, like you can find long starters. Not saying you can't in the 5th round, but the likelihood is not as high. So when you're weighing out the risk, I'm not necessarily mad about the 5th rounder. The part where I'd be maybe a little concerning is that we only now have 5 picks in this draft, right? We don't have a 7th, we don't have a 5th, and we don't have a 2nd, I believe, right?
Yeah, so right now we currently have 1, 9, and then it jumps all the way to number 75, 111, 123. Only 5 picks, man.
Yeah, 5 picks and nothing past the 5th round, I believe. So again, if you want your picks, you're going to want them within the top 150, which is where all of ours are at. So that's a good thing. But again, you don't want to go into a draft. I never want to go into a draft less than 7, right? You want to at least have 7, not more.
But that's where
6. But
that's where if you trade, here's the thing, like Ari said, never know what's going to happen. Trade number 1 pick, it's still a possibility.
Yep.
Even though it's maybe 1 to 5% right now, maybe less than 1%, it's still there. It's on the table. You are going to accumulate a ton. Then if you don't, say you stay at 1, Justin Fields, trade market. For me, I've heard, sure, it's watered down. Maybe it's not as big as we thought. I'm not buying that shit. I'm not buying it at all. Justin Fields, someone's going to recognize that he is still talented. He just turned 25 yesterday. Happy birthday, Justin Fields. I saw people taking shots at him on his birthday, like just being weird, making fucking weird ass comments on Twitter. And I'm not going to, anyways, for me, it just felt so weird. Like we're really doing that. Like out of all days,
these are humans. Like
I'm never doing that. It's just stupid, man. It's just like ever since people started to get paid on Twitter, it's like you just see a lot of crazier shit, in my opinion.
All for $5 a month. That's wild. But yeah, people.
Hey, I got about $50.
There you go.
I was like, I feel like it should be more, but no. Anyways, getting back to that, Justin, if they trade him, you're going to get some capital. For me, I think you're going to get a 2nd, and you're going to get at least maybe a 5th. 6th, something along those lines. You look at Sam Darnold. You look at who else?
Darnold was 2, 4, and 7, I think. There's definitely been a history though. Like and
what's the other quarterback? I just had in my mind. It slipped.
It's another mid quarterback. Let's be real. It's always people. Yeah. It's the NFL. They will overpay.
Trey Lance, right?
Trey Lance was a 4th, I think, or 4th or 3rd.
Yeah, and Justin he just has a lot more on.
No, if you stack up his resume, just look at Sam Darnold, right? Justin Fields is a better player, has had a better career than Sam Darnold was when he got traded, right? And I still think Justin Fields has more potential. Like, that's why there's still the argument, or at least the beginning of the offseason, there was such a debate that Fields could be the starter still because he's at least good enough, or he has a potential that's high enough that people are, Chicago Bears fans are saying, hey, he should be our QB1. So let's be real. There's a team out there, and I think that's why I asked Ari about who the dark horse team would be, because there's got to be someone out there that we're just not thinking of, right? Like, let's go back to last year. Not one single report, not one talked about the Panthers trading up. No, we're looking at like top 8 teams that really don't, have a quarterback. And next thing you know, boom. Who? The Panthers in the massive trade? So, yeah, I think there's going to be a dark horse team that none of us are paying attention to, and they're going to be like, yo, look, we're too far away to trade up in the draft to get our guy. Let's go ahead and trade for Justin Fields. And I think, we'll be happy. We can get, 2 picks at least for that, which will put us now at, 7? So I'd be happy.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, enough of the quarterback talk. We've talked about it so much. If you want to hear about it, we've had a lot of cool guests in the last month or so. Go back, check out the pods. Of course, we'll talk about it maybe later with our final questions. But free agency, I want to start it off hot here, Ficky. My top 3 free agents. I'm starting with Saquon. I'm sorry if I'm stealing this. I've heard Josh Jacobs. We're going to get to our graphics that you've made. But for me, my number 1 target here, and I know people are, here's the thing. I know there's other needs, way more than running back. But one of my favorite possibilities is getting Saquon Barkley in a Bears uniform. Ari said it best, tickets, buzz. But imagine Justin and Saquon, but then imagine Caleb Williams and Saquon, a running back that is dynamic. Sure, he's a little bit older. He's played with the Giants for the last 6 years. I think he's still dynamic.
Oh, snap. Did I lose you, Dave? Did Dave freeze? Such a hot take that he couldn't even take it himself. Okay, since he's frozen, let me talk about this. Saquon, I'm okay with. Well, let me put it this way. Before Ari came on, I was definitely okay with Saquon, right? But now, I don't know. Ari's saying I need what? He's trying to get like his biggest bag because he hasn't been paid yet. I don't know. I just don't know if I want to invest that much into a running back. Like the modern NFL, like I want these running backs to get paid. Let's be real. But the modern NFL, that's not how you build a team. I don't want to take our cap, which is what, 57 million, right now. And 12 of that we have to subtract because 12 million is probably going to be like roster reserves for your draft picks. So we're sitting at what, like maybe 45 million. And I want to take 20 million of that and give it to a running back. I don't know. We do have Dave back, but that's going to be, that's going to be tough.
I guess, back. Am I back?
Yeah, such a hot take.
I guess they don't want Saquon Barkley, man. They should shut the fuck up. Get out of here.
Yeah, no.
Dude, I went on for a good 30 seconds because I just was so in the zone, and I realized I was like, I'm not even on the show right now, dude. Like, oh my God.
It'd be like that.
Anyways, no, Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, no, I just give you my response to that, and you can finish yours. Basically, I said Saquon Barkley, like the talent, yes, I would love that. But what scares me is the contract, right? And that's because Ari said, hey, if someone's trying to get a bag out of this running back group, it's going to be Saquon because he hasn't gotten it yet, and he's on a 6 years on his rookie deal, right? So because of that, I'm almost like, okay, if this man's asking for like 15 to 20 million, right? Probably more closer to 20, maybe like 18 or something like that. I don't know what his market value. I can look that up here in a second. But we have 57 million in cap. 12 million of that's probably going to go to rookie reserves. That leaves us with 45. Do you want half of your cap to go to a running back?
You wouldn't put half of it. So this is what I propose. This is from PFF. Okay. It would be 3 years, 36 million, but there's a caveat here. It'd be 12 million per year, but only 18.5 million guaranteed. So for me, I think he's around that $10, $12 million mark. And so for me, if you front load it, sure, it may be paying 20 million, maybe paying like 15 million all straight up. But for me, I think that the running back market, you know how fluid it is. You know how they don't really get paid. True. It's rare. Look at Derrick Henry. He got his bag, but that's a rarity, man. It doesn't happen a lot. Now I've heard Saquon, is demanding maybe a little bit more, but I think there's going to be a point where it's like, okay, we aren't going to get what we want per se. So for me, I think at the end of the day, Saquon will get a good deal. And I think the Bears will be at the top of the list to be able to provide, maybe what he's looking for. I just think overall, I think the talent, if you are having a rookie quarterback, for me, surround him with as much weapons as you can, man. If you're bringing in Caleb Williams, who's a rookie, take advantage of that rookie quarterback or that contract, man. I know you don't pay running backs, but I don't think you have to break the bank to bring in Saquon. I really don't. You can sell the city, sell the marketing. He's in New York. He knows what it's about. But Chicago, the hype with Caleb Williams to be able to help a quarterback, help the Bears become relevant again. I think it's better than dealing with Daniel Jones, Oh,
yeah. Again, no, better situation for him, for sure. And so, let's be real. He would make our team better. There's no argument there. It's really about that.
He's dynamic, dude.
Yeah, my concern is just the value. So if it's
Absolutely.
10 to 12, 100%. We got the cap. We can do that. If it's more 15 to 20, and it's over 2 years, that's where I'm kind of concerned, right?
No, and I don't 30 million, and
Poles probably wouldn't do that anyways, because that's not how he's ever been in free agency.
So. For me, it's the guaranteed money is one, and also the average per year what he might command. So for me, I think even the PFF deal 3 years, 36 million, 12 million per year, only 18.5 million guaranteed. For me, I think that's fine. I think that is something I would be willing to take a chance on. And for me, maybe you bring it down to, if you could do 3 years, 30 million, along those lines, have it out after year 2, whatever it might be. But to get to, I want to keep it going, but that's number one. I'm not saying he's the one I want 100%. I just feel like I wanted to address it. I've kind of been beating the drum here this week as free agency kind of heats up. I want Saquon in a Bears jersey. That's one I would actually get 100%. I would rock it, man. And
you're not getting a Caleb jersey?
Caleb Williams? No. I told myself I would not get a quarterback.
That's fair.
A Bears quarterback until they at least win a playoff game. And maybe it's Caleb, but I'm going to wait, man. Yeah. It may never happen. But hey, I'm going to save $130. So I bought a Mitch jersey, bought a Justin jersey.
You're buying the real ones. That's your problem.
I have a Cutler. Right, yeah. Got a Cutler. I have a Rex Grossman, dude.
Yeah, you need to quit buying quarterback jerseys.
But anyways, Ficky, where are you going? Who's atop your list right now?
Okay. I think this is a big one. It is a need that we have. He's still young enough, and a position that needs to be filled. I talk about this ad nauseum. We have to get the trenches right. And the first guy I'm pulling from the trenches is the starting center who just tore his ACL in Miami, but he's still a dominant player. That is Connor Williams. Right now, he's 26, right? Recovering from that ACL that I mentioned, but easily the best free agent, the best center in free agency. According to PFF, he's one of the highest rated overall scores with an 86.5 overall grade. And what's super impressive is he had a 90.5 running grade. And the Bears, what do we like to do? We like to run the fucking ball. So we have a great person that can lead the command. We talked about, if you bring in a rookie quarterback, we don't want to also align that with a rookie center, right? Get him someone who has experience commanding the line, so it makes Caleb's job a little bit easier, right? Because honestly, that pairing needs to be, I just don't want 2 rookies, because then there's a lot of questions on, like, well, let me put it this way. There's a big learning curve for 2 very important positions that really dictate a lot of your offense. So that's huge. Another big thing, he only had 7 penalties last year. That's pretty good. Historically, through his career, he's had a couple seasons where they were double digits, but most of them have been under 10, which is great. And the only downfall, though, of him is that his pass block grade was a 71.7. That's not bad, but it's not that great. But the positive in that is that that's his highest score of his career in the passing category. So to say all that, this man is at his peak right now. He's 26. Obviously, the injury concerns, but we just signed Ryan Bates. So if you need to fill Ryan in for the first couple of weeks before Connor gets back, I'm totally cool with that. Spotrac has him going for a 5-year deal, 5 years, 67 million total, with about 13.5 AAV. So about 13 million a year. I think that's great market value to get your starting center. Basically, if he rides that out, that's your starting center for the first 5 years of Caleb's career, or Justin's, like, well, not Justin's, but you know what I mean? That's a great bond you can build. You look at how important a great starting center is. Like, look at Hurts and Jason Kelce. Obviously, Jason's one of the best of all time, but you look at Peyton Manning, Jeff Saturday. Like, a lot of these great quarterbacks had great centers to be paired with them, or that they grew with. So I think, why couldn't we also do that as well? And only 13 million per year. I mean, I think that's a steal. So that's who I would go with. The injury concern, I'm not too worried about. Let him heal up. And because this is more, I'm thinking, if we're bringing in Caleb, we're not playoff automatically, right? This is a long-term play that maybe by year 2, year 3, he's only 28, 29, and Caleb's in his prime. You know what I mean? So now you have a full veteran center who knows how to play. And we're noticing in the NFL, out of all the offensive lineman positions, centers seem to play tackles. Some tackles last a long time, but centers also are playing a little bit longer than what it was of previous decades. So overall, I think you're really investing into the line. You can get a long-term piece and still draft a center in the NFL draft this year. Like, you can still get Paris Johnson and then have him be behind Connor Williams and learn from a great. So that whole spiel is basically, like, honestly, this is probably my number 1 free agent signing that I would love to see the Bears do, due to his value and his market value, and how great of a player he actually is. Because a lot of times with free agency, right, you don't see good players unless they're running back. You don't see great players hit the market. Oh, we got breaking news.
Oh, no, this is from earlier. This is from a couple days ago. This is who I'm setting myself up. I wanted to kind of show a little.
Wait a minute. That's my next one. That's my next one.
Oh, really? We'll do it together because that's right, not fair.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Anyways, first of all, I want to say your center. I like it. I like it a lot. However, my gut says Ryan Bates was brought here to most likely start. The only way I feel like maybe he doesn't and he picks up more of like a swing tackle or just kind of is moving around kind of like Lucas Patrick is if the Bears do trade back from 9 or something along those lines or somehow get like a high, maybe a pick number 20 from Pittsburgh or something along those lines for Justin Fields and they go and get Jackson Powers Johnson from the draft. And then maybe he starts right away. Yeah, Paris Johnson.
That was the tackle.
Shout out to Darnell Wright. Yeah.
I'm
glad we went with him. I like Paris Johnson. But anyways,
he's good.
I like it. I just feel like the Bears might be done. I think they're going to probably use, allocate resources elsewhere. But this is, said this one is probably, this was your second one. Xavier McKinney. There was no transition tag by the Giants. He is going to hit the open market next week. I think he's going to be, first of all, he's 24 years old. He had number 1 PFF coverage safety. For last year, 91.2. I was going through these stats. Ficky, this was number 2. You had a really good tweet about it as well. So I'm going to let you kind of share it. But first of all, before you do, I don't want to break the bank. And I'll give you the projections that PFF is giving after you kind of give the rundown on who this safety, this kid is. Because I feel like he's
great. That's what he is. He's great. I'm
him and
surprised
Brisker,
the Giants didn't tag. Oh, that'd be great. So you already mentioned the coverage grade. Great in coverage. What's also very important, which some of his counterparts aren't good at, they're good in coverage, but not this portion, is tackling. Throughout his career, he's always been a good tackler. 89.1 score tackling, 5% miss rate. That's so low. Like there's some people on here that I was looking at where it's as high as 17%. Right? That's more of like your Bojack category where, you're great in coverage, but when it comes to trying to guard the run, not happening. So yeah, you can see here, my tweet is he had 94 tackles last year, only a 5.7 miss rate, 3 interceptions. That's still great. It's not as high as some others, but I'm totally cool with that. And he's young, right? So I'm all ecstatic for that. What's also good though, which we can go into after this, is if we don't get Xavier McKinney, there's 2 other safeties that are great options as well. So there's some good free agent safety pool. So if we don't get Xavier, he's still the top of my list. There's 2.
What do you think of Eddie Jackson?
Compare. Yeah, you know what? I heard he had a pretty good year in 2018. Maybe we should sign him back. So yeah, but yeah, Xavier's definitely I would love for us to go get him. So I know you're going to mention the PFF market. I pulled mine from Spotrac. Who knows which one's right? I mean, they're both great, but 5 years, 52 million, about 10.4 million annually. That's not a bad deal at all. 10 annually, I would definitely take that. I don't know what PFF was at, but I'm sure it's not far off.
No, it's so we have the projected contract for Xavier McKinney right now is 4 years, 13.5 million per year.
Yeah.
30 million guaranteed, 54 million total. So I mean, you're handing out a bag for a guy who's 24 and a half years old. He is, I mean, his coverage grades, you talked about it, all top 10 marks among safeties in 2023.
Consistently.
Big thing here, he missed only 7.8% of his tackle attempts over his career. 11th among best. It's 11th best among 89 safeties with at least 100 tackles over the past 4 seasons. Makes him reliable, past the defensive line. Biggest thing there, Eddie Jackson. I know I loved him. Shout out. What an insane 2018 year. Nothing, not going to knock him. But one thing is missed tackles. He whiffed a couple times. There's a highlight reel or whatever you want to call it, I guess, of him and some of his greatest whiffs. So it's like me bringing in him and Brisker. Sure, I don't know if it's premier. Safety isn't premier position, but I think it could be one that may shock us if the Bears really do at least explore it. And maybe they get him for even a better deal. For me, I think it's interesting that New York let him go. I don't know what their cap situation is looking like, but it really did shock me when I saw this news, pop off a couple days ago. So,
can I talk about the other two safeties that if we miss out on Xavier, which I think would be great option B and C. So I'm gonna go option B and then I'll go to C. So Cameron Curl, no one's really talking about this guy from Washington. Now he did have a lower coverage grade and overall grade than McKinney, but it's still decent, right? The thing that he does have is he has 6 more career interceptions than McKinney. I think he has 6 less career interceptions than McKinney. I think McKinney has like 9 total in his career, and Cameron Curl only has 3. But he still has a very high coverage grade, which is great. And he's only had 2 seasons of double-digit miss percentage. So most of his stuff, like in essence, he's a pretty good tackler. Not as good as McKinney. Again, that's why McKinney's option 1, but he's a decent option 2. What he does specialize in more than McKinney is actually where he plays at on the defense. If you look at where he's at, like position-wise, 50% of the time he was playing in the box. 50% of the time he was in coverage and 33% of the time he was in the box. And I think McKinney, let me go back here. He played in the box 50% of the time. And then 50% of the other time he was more like in coverage, right? While compared to McKinney was only in the box around 33% of the time and about 70%, right? 66% of the time he was more back as your standard safety. So Cameron Curl can play more of like being pulled up, which we see with Brisker a lot, and maybe they don't bring him in because he's this type of same player, but he's definitely more versatile when you can move him around on your defense, which also would be great to see, right? I mean, would you not want another Brisker back here? And I think he might be a little bit taller. I think he's like 6'3" or something like that. So he's like a big safety who can cover well and also tackle well. So that's a great option B. Now, what a lot of people know this option C, and everyone's been talking about it, is Geno Stone. Okay. Geno Stone led the league in interceptions last year. I think he had 8, which is crazy on the Ravens. But there's some key things to think about. The Ravens played 3 safety formations more than any other team in the NFL, which is wild. So like they were in very unique situations where probably he could thrive more because you have 3 safeties, right? Maybe he's more of a roamer, more of that type of just pass coverage, free safety type of ordeal. You're not getting that in Chicago. We want a 4-3 cover 2 high, right? You're getting the Tampa 2. That's not going to be the case, right? So maybe he wouldn't fit our scheme as well. And then when you look at ball production, it was great last year, but he really hasn't done anything since last year. I think he has 9 total interceptions and 8 of them came last year, right? So are we looking at Eddie Jackson, even though I think Eddie Jackson had other years where he was definitely serviceable and had more production, but is this more of a flash in the pan, or is this someone that can consistently be that? The biggest concern, though, and why I brought up Eddie Jackson, 20% miss rate. This guy does not tackle at all. Maybe cheaper than McKinney, but it's like, do we want another Eddie Jackson? Now, if you're getting 8 interceptions a year, who cares? When Eddie Jackson was balling out on interception production, you don't care how many missed tackles you get because you're getting turnovers. That's what wins games, right? So I just think you're getting more of a risk in that of the type of player there that you're trying to get. But the good thing about all 3 options, they're all young. All young. They're all 24, 25. I don't think any are 26, or one might hit 26 to start the new league year. So I think that's why I was actually surprised at how good the safety class is this year and how good and also young, and they're not too expensive. So, so if we miss out on Xavier and we get one of these guys, I will, be a little bit happier than just like, oh man, we missed this guy. We're kind of fucked. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think this free agency, I mean, what a time for the Bears to be set up to spend, obviously, free agency is kind of, you always overpay. It's not how most teams win unless you're close to maybe you make a splash. But for me, I just feel like there's just so many good names, so many great players, good players as well, that are just hitting the market right now, especially with the last 24 to 48 hours. My next one, going to the interior, the trenches on the defensive side, Christian Wilkins from Miami. I'm sure that was yours. I have a couple more. Like, we'll get to more than our just top 3.
No, it's all good.
But for me, Christian Wilkins, first of all, projected right now, PFF, I want to start with the contract. 4 years, $25 million per year. So it's expensive. So it's 4 years, $67.5 million guaranteed, $100 million total. So we're looking at 4 years, $25 million per year. That's a lot of money. That is a lot of money. So I think there's other options, potentially, either through free agency or even the draft. But for me, if they want to make a splash, which for me, the Ryan Bates move, for some reason, I feel like that right there was, okay, hey, we're going to go cheap here. We think we can make it work, maybe draft somebody as well, get a little bit more depth. But I think they're liking kind of what Bates is obviously bringing, because Poles, you talked about it, was interested in 2 years ago. However, Christian Wilkins, I feel like that right there, last year, he said, first of all, he was as good as run defender any defensive lineman, but he set career highs in every pass rushing category last year, and he is 28 years old. So that includes pass rush win rate, pressure rate, sacks, quarterback hits, and pressures. I mean, this guy he's balling out. I know Miami let him go. Some people may be worried that he maybe started to slow down at the second half of last year. I get that. But if the Bears make a move like this, and then maybe they draft Dallas Turner at 9, I mean, this defense, dude, it's already top 5 in the league in the second half of the season, last 8 games or whatever. I mean, you bring in a guy like this, and I'm telling you, I think, I don't care who is quarterback. It would be like Mitch Trubisky. I think that defense is going to be able to carry whoever's playing quarterback, whether it's Justin, Caleb. It's not going to be Mitch Trubisky. I mean, he just signed with the Bills again. I mean, we can take that out of there. That scenario is gone for all the sickos that wanted that. Anyways, I feel like that one's a premier name. I think that one, I don't know if that's going to happen. Maybe 30, 40%. I know the Bears have a lot of money, but it's like that would be a lot of allocated resources on one player, where I don't know. If you look at last year, look at Roquan, let him go. I know it's completely different, but it's like you got 2 players in Tremaine Edmonds and TJ Edwards for the price of Roquan Smith.
And he was much younger than Christian Wilkins. Yeah.
And I know he's 28. Maybe a little bit older, but for me, I think he has a couple of years left, at least 3 to 4, barring any injuries. Was he on your radar? Obviously, was he?
Yeah,
number 3?
He's really number 3 for me. Spotrac had him at 4 years, $80 million, but still $20 million annually, 20 to 25. Like, you're paying big money for this guy. Well deserved. You talked about career highs. I had those noted too. 58 pressures, 32 hurries. Right,
dude,
and even
impact.
Impressive. This is an interior defensive lineman that had 10 sacks. That's crazy. So yes, is he worth that much? I mean, he's one of the best free agents on, like, just out there right now, right? Like, he's a top 3 if you're not counting the weight of quarterbacks like Kirk Cousins and things like that. But like non-quarterback player, this is one of the top dogs in there, and it makes sense. He's balling right now, and at a position, right? We talk about this defense. Eberflus has said, hey, the engine of this defense is the 3-tech. It's the interior lineman, right? What better position to bring in someone like Christian Wilkins to do that, right? Great run defender, obviously a great pass defender. So, I mean, like, if you're going to overpay, because at the end of the day, you overpay in free agency. That's just the name of the game. It's a bidding war. If you're going to overpay statistically, this is the guy I'm okay with you overpaying for. Basically, Christian Wilkins and Connor Williams. Those 2 guys, for me personally, if you're going to overpay, I'm totally cool with the overpay in those 2 positions. Because, again, trenches, right? That's where the football game, that's where the game is won. You look at the playoff teams this year, they won in the trenches, right? So that's what I would love to see for this team. If they go out and do that, I'll be ecstatic. Again, it's not my money. So spend it how you need to. And I trust Poles too, because he knows O-line play. And I feel like Flus knows D-line play, or at least Eric Washington. That's his specialty, right? So I would be ecstatic about either of those signings.
Okay. Yeah, me too. I thought I muted myself for a second there. And I was like, I don't think I've gone the entire, I'm just trying to give our group chat away here. Our Bears group chat on Twitter. First of all, been going on for like 5+ years now. But I want to move on. I know our free agency, we talked about it with Ari a little bit, but this kind of leads into both the draft and free agency. Ficky, you made these graphs. Devin Hester, first of all, he posted one. We're going to get to the one that he posted. Now, we didn't really make it, but we were going to make it eventually. However, someone else ended up Yeah, we all know. Anyways, long story short, we posted this on March 3rd because we were just going through different potentials in our little group chat with the pod. We were like talking about who could we include here, with Caleb Williams. And we talked about Odunze, of course, and then Saquon Barkley. But this is what you kind of cooked up here. And I mean, you want to talk about interaction. It was crazy. So almost, 500 or 500,000 impressions, so many comments, quotes. A lot of people loved it. A lot of people hated it. Some people were mixed.
I think people hated it.
And then people were like, keep fucking dreaming. This is not happening.
Yeah.
But I want to go over both of these potential offenses, and I want to know which one you prefer. And I think I'm even Jack, I'm going to ask you as well. I don't know if you can basically bring your audio in here, of course. Actually, I think I can bring him up here in a minute. But which one do you prefer? So this one is the Bears' potential 2024 offense with Caleb Williams, Rome Odunze, Saquon Barkley, DJ Moore, Cole Kmet, Calvin Ridley. Holy shit. Now we're not talking about offensive line here, but this is just the weapons right here. So this is team number one, obviously, if you stick with Caleb Williams. Now down here, let me see here. I think it was the next. Gosh, let's see how many tweets did we have here.
Yeah, we post
here. We post a lot. So this one, not as many interactions, surprisingly, but it is Justin Fields, where you're sticking with him, Marvin Harrison Jr., Josh Jacobs, DJ Moore, Cole Kmet, Curtis Samuel. Now, Curtis Samuel, I think, is interchangeable, but for me, I mean, this is another thing, and I forgot to tell you this, but we could have even included another tight end here, maybe at 9.
Oh, Brock, yeah.
Brock Bowers, because if you're trading number 1, you're getting there a lot back, blah, blah, blah. So for me, Ficky, what offense do you prefer here?
Man. You know what? It is tough. It is tough. Oh, man. Okay, so I'm going to have to go team 1, right? And people are probably thinking just quarterback. Not necessarily. I've fallen in love with Rome Odunze recently. I've watched a lot of his stuff and just followed a lot of people. It might be just me hopping on the hype train like everyone else right now, which is totally fair. That's what a fan does, right? But I've loved watching his highlights. That man is a baller, right? And then you talked about, if we're going to get a running back, Saquon, you're telling me if I get to watch Rome Odunze and Saquon in the background, fantastic. The final piece, Calvin, give me Calvin, give me Curtis, Samuel. I'm cool. Those are interchangeable for me. I'm cool. DJ and Cole are obviously the same. I've already been sold on Caleb now because that's what the tide has been, right? That's what the writing on the wall. So like I mentally put myself in that place that now it's kind of hard for me to go back on my boy Justin. So I feel like because of that, I'm probably going to go team A. If you want to say like a percentage, because this isn't all for nothing, I'm not going to be mad if it's Justin Fields with Marvin Harrison Jr. Are you kidding me? Would I ever be mad about that? No. At one point, I was probably ecstatic about that until the media told me that's not happening, right? So I would say like maybe like 65%. I'm with team A,
all right,
and 35% with team B.
All right. So I'm gonna go pick team B here, I guess, which I think is actually team A if you think about it. Because man, I regret not putting an extra person in here because Justin Fields, I've talked about, I have to stick with it. I know there's I'll say it. Caleb Williams is coming to Chicago. It is likely happening. However, if they don't and they build around Justin, I feel like obviously the weapons could just be immense. There could be so many, man. Outside of these 6 players right here, we're talking about another player at 9, perhaps. That could be offensive. We're talking about, it could be Rome Odunze somehow. I don't know. Like, honest to God, like you can get Marvin Harrison and just load up with Rome Odunze as well. So it's like there are so many creative options if you do trade the number 1 pick because of the talent and the tag that is on Caleb Williams and the price tag, I should say, if they were to trade the pick, if there were any suitors out there that were willing to give up that type of draft capital. But for me, I'll go here just for the sake of discussion because you do have Marvin Harrison Jr., who is really, truly generational, perhaps. And then you talked about it. Rome Odunze, I'm falling in love with him. I think he killed the combine, not just what he did running the 40, anything like that, but just how he was as a person, how he talked to the media. I mean, the plane crash thing was hilarious.
Hilarious.
They asked him, can you land a plane? Blah, blah. He's like, no, like we're going down.
Soul's gone.
Souls are gone. Souls are perished. So for me, I thought I really am clinging to him as a Chicago Bear just because of the direction the team's probably going. But the weapons, I'm talking about Bears' potential offense. I mean, you could, and I know Josh Jacobs in here, but I want to change him out as well. I'm just making rules up here. I want Saquon. So Marvin Harrison, Saquon, Justin, DJ Moore, Cole Kmet, Brock Bowers, Curtis Samuel. Hell, I think there's just so many options, and you know this. There are more options if you trade.
Oh, absolutely.
But,
absolutely, way more options. But the big question is, which we don't have the answer to, is
it's not happening.
Who's the better quarterback? And we don't know. That's the thing. At the end of the day, these teams are quarterback driven.
Dude, so I don't know if I don't know if I'm falling in the trap here, but obviously you said it. Caleb is obviously more than likely happening. And I've just been watching him. I've been watching everything I can about Caleb. Man, I see a lot of, I know Patrick Mahomes, I get it. But he said it himself about Aaron Rodgers. And it's like, how poetic if we get our own fucking Aaron Rodgers. Like, I'm not talking about the person that Aaron is, but I'm talking about the talent.
You don't want him on ayahuasca?
No, no, but the talent that he was at quarterback, we saw it time and time again, sadly, time and time again, about how amazing and how great he played at that position at such a high level. And so for me to get our own in Caleb, I'm not saying we don't know he's going to be that, but for me, when I watch it, release and everything like that, good God, dude, it would be like a ha-ha moment, where we finally get our guy. But for me, like I said, I've been on team Justin, see it on the sign here, keep Fields, draft Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm not going to race into the dream's dead. But at the same time, everyone knows kind of where I stand. I love Caleb Williams. I think he would be so exciting. Hard Knocks is going to be awesome, in my opinion. The offseason is going to be fun. So I'm happy either way, but I thought it was a really cool graphic. So shout out to you, Ficky, for kind of putting these together. I think we need to get a couple more updated once we get a little bit more additions, of course. And more.
Of course, we're going to have free agency. So some of those,
and
I'm sure one or two of those will be
filled I don't know how you could do this, Ficky, but you got to include the offensive line because people were pissed. They're like, what offensive line? What are we going to do?
Are you going to put 11 squares on there? Like, these people are
You got to figure it out, man.
Oh, my gosh. I'm sure I can make something. But yet, no, overall.
Or Ryan
like, I would be happy with
Shout out to Ryan.
Yeah, facts.
Who's our
I'd be happy
around here.
Absolutely. But I'd be happy about either of these options. Like, I'm not. We've both been in we've both been in the same boat. The Bears are in a great position where they can win two different ways, right? Like, do you go the Fields route? You can stack up on picks, really double down, take risk on like someone like a Brock Bowers, and make this offense just phenomenal, right?
Yeah.
And then obviously, if Caleb's your guy, then you don't have to worry about any of the questions about what the team could have been. Yeah. So overall, like that's why the graphics fun to make, to be honest, because we're in a position now where if it is the Fields route, there's so much you can do with that. If it's the Caleb route, you get excited about Caleb, and we're third in cap space with $57 million, so we can get about anyone we want to if Poles actually wants to pay the bag to some of these top free agents. So that's why it's so exciting, and I think that's why people are a little bit mad and upset. Like, why don't you include this? It's because we literally could have so many different options because we have all the resources to make it happen, right? Compared to, like you said, three years ago, that's not the case. We're in cap hell. We're not a good team. We don't have a first round pick. So it's like, we can't even think of these hypotheses or certain situations, right? They can't even come to mind because we're in a shithole, So I think that's why it's exciting. I think that's why we're getting a lot of interactions. I mean, obviously people like the graphics, but I think people are like, well, what about this? What about this dream scenario? And it's like, there's tons, guys. Yeah. Like, it's going to be fun.
Absolutely. And before we're going to end the show here, we've been going on. I'm sure we'll have a lot more free agency talk next week. We'll probably have 2 episodes next week, depending on how news kind of trickles out and everything. But we will be back next week, of course, just to recap everything and, of course, maybe have an emergency pod as well. But if you're enjoying the content, before we move into our final segment here, hit the like button on YouTube if you're watching here. Subscribe if it's your first time. If you want to stick around, we're almost to 4,000 subs. We're going to have an awesome giveaway there. We have a lot coming with this draft season. There's going to be a lot of cool stuff that we're going to kind of be rolling out. We're waiting until then just because it's going to be a new team, perhaps. We don't know, but we're excited. If you're on Apple, Spotify, I know we have a lot of listeners on those platforms. So go ahead and hit rate the pod on there. Subscribe, download as well if you can. But the support has been amazing, especially on TikTok, Instagram, of course, Twitter. So if you guys want to follow us over there at BFR_pod on all socials, we'll appreciate it. So Jack, I don't know, obviously you're listening. I don't know if you want to go and pop in audio, but what graph were you choosing, man?
Let's see if we can bring him in for a second.
Yeah.
Whoops, sorry. Go ahead. Jack, who are you choosing?
I think, like you said, the Team A is very Madden, like fantasy football kind of like it. I don't know. There's something about like you were talking about like cap and stuff. It's like I just like
afford all this.
I'm like we have no defense there. We won't have a safety this year, I guess, if we run that offense. But yeah, so I mean, Team A obviously I think I like a little more. Team B is a little interesting though because like if you look at it from a financial like nerd perspective, it sort of like it hits the best possible way. Like the only person we're paying big money to, not even big. I think Spotrac had Jacobs at like 11 mil annually or something. It's like that's all you're paying on the offense because you're not paying Fields, you're paying MHJ minimums and rookie deals. So Team B would be fun. I would enjoy it. I would think getting Justin out there and let him rock with the best possible offense we could give him. That'd be fun.
Yeah, to say honestly, if you're going to pair a free agent up with Justin, though, realistically, I would love to see. Not even MHJ would be great. Don't get me wrong, but Saquon and Justin, that would be. I think that would be wild.
That'd be hell. That'd be hell for opposing.
What would be? Because Ari brought this up. What would be crazier? Fields paired with Saquon Barkley, or Lamar Jackson paired with Derrick Henry?
I would give Lamar with Saquon, honestly. I'm just being honest.
Lamar with Saquon.
Yeah, I like Derrick Henry, but I feel like there has to be some regression coming with him. And I just
compared to his workouts he posted today.
No, I know.
That man is
man.
Crazy.
He'll probably make me look stupid, but I don't know.
He makes a lot of people look stupid. So
yeah, Derrick Henry is a weird guy though to me. I feel like he's like such a system running back. Like I could picture him perfectly on the Packers or something like that, where they're just sort of like run it up the middle, run it down your throat kind of thing. And
all right, that's enough of Jack. We're not getting Derrick Henry in then.
I don't know.
Confirmed. Jack wants the Packers to have Derrick Henry. There it is.
I do not want that. I'm just saying. That's all I'm saying. But no, like there's something about him where like even on the Bears, I wouldn't be too excited. Like I mean, last year was brutal, but like regardless, I know he's the baller and whatever, but yeah, there's something about him that I just don't like. I would much rather have Saquon or Jacobs or hit someone in the draft than Derrick Henry. But Derrick Henry's not even on Bears' radar as far as I know. No. So shouldn't be.
He's not. He's not on the Packers either because they don't ever pay in free agency. Look at the history of Packers. Yeah, they never pay. So they're not going to go for someone like Derrick Henry. So we hopefully, knock on wood, will not have to worry about that. Hopefully it goes to some AFC team and does Derrick Henry things.
Yeah, go away.
Go away. And we still have to do it.
Yeah, fair enough.
Awesome.
No.
Thanks, Jack.
Absolutely. All right, Jack. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate all you do. Well, let's go ahead and get to. We'll run through as quick as we can with these questions. I know we're going over an hour and 22 minutes here. So first of all, we appreciate it. But Jack, if you want to bring up some questions, and we'll go ahead and get these answered here, if we have any.
We got a good amount. Okay, so we got Manuel Lopez on Facebook. Appreciate the comment or the question. He said, how would Caleb have done the last 2 years with the Bears during the rebuilding process? That is actually a very, very good question. I would say, would he have done better than Fields? Maybe, but this team has not shown ever, like they have not given me any proof that they can bring in a quarterback and treat them well or set them up for success.
No.
So even as great as Caleb is, it would be irresponsible for me to say, oh, he would have been the next Patrick Mahomes. This team now, that's a little different. New regime, better team. But the last 3 years, a coach on his way out, we saw what they did to Fields. There's no way. No way.
No, it's first of all, how good Caleb is. We have no idea what he's going to do.
That's
in
true.
NFL.
We don't even know.
You throw him in that. I don't care. I don't care who you are. Mahomes, nobody would have survived. Maybe they would have came out at, like Justin. he's moving on perhaps. I think we're going to find out really, truly his ceiling and what he is with another team and organization that maybe will be able to support him a little bit better. Like the Bears, if they stuck with him now, I feel like they can really build around him and find out that potential. But for me, absolutely. Caleb Williams, I wouldn't wish anything with Justin or any that Justin went through where they're tearing down the roster as you're coming into the league and trying to figure it out.
Well, they didn't even tear down the first year, but he still got sacked, like 10 times against the Browns. You know what I mean? So it's like his first year he came in, they mishandled that. He was QB3. You traded up to 11 to pick a quarterback and you make him your third string. And then when you throw him in there, he gets beat to shit. Like that whole first year was horrible. That's why we threw it away. So yeah, there's no way Caleb would have survived in that. Or let me put it this way. A player could succeed, but they would not be at their highest ceiling with that situation. No. Absolutely not.
No, I don't think Caleb would have succeeded. I don't think there's any. I don't
either. I don't either because it was just such a shitty situation from the jump. Yeah. So
well, it's the Bears. It's the Bears. We can't fucking
we can't do it.
Maybe another team, but definitely not with the Bears and the Packers with that situation.
Yeah, Packers want
to put themselves in that situation. So, anyways, good question. But next question.
That's a great question. Yeah, next one. Vizo Joe on YouTube or Vizo Joe. Oh, I love that Abby, by the way. That's dope. He said, will Poles trade Fields regardless they trade the number 1 pick? So will Poles trade Fields and trade the number 1? Is that what you're saying?
No, so he's basically, so if they trade the number 1 pick, are they going to trade Fields regardless? Like, whether they keep it or not?
No. So you're saying, is there a situation where they trade Fields and trade the first and maybe draft like Jaden Daniels?
Yeah.
Like, let's say they drop to like 2 or 3. I mean, it's
basically if they're saying if they trade the number 1 pick that they're going to take another quarterback other than Caleb Williams. So
I don't. If they trade back to like 2 and they don't move again, maybe that could be a sign. Like you go to Washington and then the times ran up on the clock. I'm like, okay, who are you picking? You're probably picking a quarterback, right? But I think the writing's on the wall. Like Ari said, I don't really see that happening. I think it's Caleb Williams is coming to Chicago.
Yeah, and I feel like there's a gap there between Caleb and everyone else. I know a lot of people. And then there's going to be quarterbacks that run up the board, but get some momentum. But don't outthink yourself here, Caleb.
Facts. It's probably Caleb. Victor Dragon. Oh, I love that last name. That's dope. On YouTube said BFR Podcast. Important or urgent? What are the top positions the Bears must fill in this draft? Caveat here, I guess to kind of answer your question before answering your question. It really depends on what we do in free agency. My approach, again, I'm not a GM. I like to get your needs in free agency and then take best player available in the draft. I don't like it where you have to worry about needs in the draft, right? It's a lot easier to fill positions of need with free agency because they have a track record in the NFL, so the risk is less, right? You can tell what they've previously done. There's more of a resume of what they've done. Well, the NFL, again, the draft, it's a lottery scratch off. So I don't want you to have positions of need to go into the draft and then now you're using that on scratch offs, right? So, other than quarterback, that's a different discussion. People do that all the time, right? But so for me, if we feel like, let's say we talked about the safety class, if we can get a safety in free agency, maybe another lineman on either side, I'm kind of cool with just drafting a wide receiver. Like that's probably the only need. I'd be like, let's try to get a little bit more help for Caleb. And then also, if you want to double down and draft some more trench players as well, I'm cool with that. But I don't want to go in thinking, we have to have this certain position. How do you feel?
Yeah, no, I think it's hard to predict when you don't have free agency done with. So for me, I think best player available. I would rather them stick with offense in the draft. I think they're due. So I'll keep it short with that. I think you got to go offense. I like Dallas Turner, but for me, I hope they go offense with Rome Odunze, perhaps Brock Bowers, but I think Rome would be my number 1 option. Of course, that means if they take Caleb. So it's a good one.
Yeah, I think it's fair. That's a great question. You guys,
that's why I'm excited about free agency, man. I'm excited. Like we're gonna because that kind of then mock drafts really get going, So
also those breaking news graphics are going to hit like crack. I love seeing that just pop up and you're like, oh yeah, let's go. I love that. So Justin Kuster, and let me know if I butchered that, from YouTube said, do you think a 5th round was too much for a backup offensive line, especially since the Bills just cut major salary? Great question. I talked about this in the beginning of the show and you may have missed it. And that's totally fine.
Jack, can you keep that question up more quick? I was trying to read it real quick. Sorry.
Yeah, you're good. So the fifth, he said, fuck, he can't find it. I just read his lips.
Don't worry about it.
It basically, the question was, Dave, was a fifth rounder too much for Ryan Bates?
Oh, okay.
Right? Especially since they just cut a lot of salary. It's all good.
Poor Jack having to go through thousands.
I read his lips like, oh, this man's going through it. But I mentioned earlier in the show, I don't think a fifth rounder is too much because a fifth rounder, the hit rate isn't as high. Now, if you would have said like a fourth or a third, like the Bears actually have a pretty good track record of finding quality starters in the fourth round. We actually talked about someone who played on the Bears for 7 years. Bojack was a fourth rounder, right? Tariq Cohen, who was a great piece, was a fourth rounder. He found it. Let's go. Jack, good job. We found some quality talent in the fourth round, so I'd be a little concerned there. But a fifth? No. The concern is not that we gave up too much. The concern is the amount of picks that we now have, which is only 5. And so we need to kind of get a little bit more. That's only my concern. What about you, Dave?
Okay. Well, hang on. There is breaking news.
Oh, shit.
Free agent all-pro running back Josh Jacobs said he would love to play for the Bears per ESPN. This is what he said. He goes, this is what's reported, I guess, from ESPN. He goes, Josh would love to be in a Chicago Bears uniform. There's mutual interest.
That's crazy. Did you see the interview by what's his name who does the Bears podcast?
Oh yeah, Pat.
Pat the designer.
Well,
he was talking to that. I can't remember who he was talking to, but he said basically has the same agent as Josh, and Josh was saying the agent told him that they have mutual interest. So
I know we have a couple questions left, so I'll hurry up. Me, Ryan Bates, I don't like it. I don't like the move. It reminds me of Lucas Patrick. I don't like giving up a 5th round pick. There's a reason I didn't really tweet about it. I just wasn't very happy. I was a little disappointed. I know that I don't know the trenches like Ryan Poles, so I could be saying this, and this is stupid. But for me, I want a center, especially if Ryan Bates is the center next year.
That's a different story.
That's
a different story.
Man.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel like this move is. That's what that move feels like to me. So sure, we'll see how everything plays out. But for me, no, I don't like. We saw Braxton Jones, 5th rounder. Darnell Mooney, 5th rounder. I know it's kind of like you could say it's a lottery ticket, or scratch off, but no, I feel like there is talent there. Ryan Poles, he should trust himself, but maybe he really does see something with Bates. Obviously, he pursued him 2 years ago. For me personally, just to take a stand, I did not like the deal. I didn't,
and that's fair. If he's
our
starting
mid to me, it smelled Lucas Patrick to me, and I'm just
if he's our starting center, then yes, I will be on board with you and say,
and that's what I'm afraid of. So
yeah, if he's our starting center, I'm like, I don't know about that one, Chief. Yeah. But
hey, you should clip
for
that.
Now,
that was a good one.
That was a good one. But
stir people up.
That is not my favorite move. If he is snapping the ball to whoever the quarterback is.
And we'll see. We'll see. 6 months from now.
We got a lot of time. We got free agency to go through still. Okay, from the Bears Nation. What DN do you prefer, Josh Allen or Danielle Hunter? Well, unfortunately, Josh Allen got tagged. So he's off the market. Danielle, crazy. 18 sacks last year or something. Like, it was high. Like, you went crazy. His only concern is age. So that man's probably asking for big money. And he's
age
already,
and money.
Yeah, he's already 30. So it doesn't mean he can't be productive for 1-2 more years. But it's like, if that man wants a 4 or 5 year deal, I don't know. Kind of.
That's where I'm contradicting myself here, Ficky, because I said offense in the first round. But it's like Dallas Turner and Montez Sweat, have a little bit. And Montez Sweat is not too old, but like have a younger guy to kind of be mentored by Montez. I like how that, but to have like Danielle Hunter and Montez Sweat, I think for the next couple of years, holy shit, watch out. Jordan Love in NFC North, that would be crazy duo. For me, obviously, I think probably going to go with Danielle Hunter here. Josh Allen's pretty cool too, though. I would have liked
Josh
that.
Allen. I would have rather have Josh Allen. So I'd rather have him, but he got tagged, so we're not getting him.
Yeah,
not this year.
That's where it's like bittersweet because like I wish there was I thought it was a pipe dream, and now of course it's not even a dream. So yeah, Danielle Hunter, I wouldn't be mad about it. So.
But you know what? Josh Allen could hit the market next year. I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen that they're close in talks, but obviously they're going to try to extend the guy. Like he's a great defensive end. He's young, but yeah, that's who I would go. And it would align more with the new quarterback we're bringing in and how young our team is, right? I don't think we're in a position yet to start signing really, really old guys, even though if you're going to sign an old guy, this is the old guy to sign because he has been consistently good throughout his career. And last year, he went fucking nuts. So if it happens, if that graphic pops up, look, I'm going to be happy and excited because it's a great player. But I don't know if it aligns with our timeline, and I don't think Poles is going to make that move. Jack,
there was a comment here real quick. It said, "Where did I see that?" Apparently, it was from ML Football on Twitter, that account. But I think they quoted it from Pat's video. Gotcha. And I thought it said per ESPN, so I thought it was another report. They got me essentially. Fuck.
That's fine though. I mean, at least it was a true source.
But it is Pat from ESPN 1000, the Chicago Bears show over there, the Chicago Bears podcast. First of all, check it out. It's amazing. Really good stuff over there. They kind of connected the dots, said that who was it that said that there was interest?
I can't remember the player, but the player has the same agent as Josh Jacobs. And he says, my source. Oh, you mean my agent? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He said his agent told him. Yeah. So it's a true sourse. It's from a player too. So I believe it.
Okay.
So that'd be good stuff.
Is this the last question?
I think we might have two more. If not, it might be the last one too.
Okay.
This is from Michael Van Hove, which sounds dope. Facebook said, just logged on. What is the boldest move you see the Bears making? Boldest move. I know it may not be the craziest. I'm going to take yours. I'll wait, see if you say it first. Go ahead.
Oh, you're going to take mine? No, I want to hear.
I think so. Okay. I think it's going to be, I think it's Saquon. I think that's the biggest bold move.
Oh, okay. That wasn't mine, actually.
Oh, really?
So
okay.
my bold move is, for some reason, I feel like the Bears are going to trade up from 9 a little bit.
Ooh,
I really do.
That is a bold move.
That's my bold, because a lot of people are like, oh, they're going to have to trade back. For me, I think the Bears are going to recoup something with Justin Fields if they trade him. But for me, I think they like somebody, and I think it's Rome. I'm hoping it is. But either way, I think Ryan Poles, he's shown to be aggressive sometimes. And I think that top 10, if he likes somebody outside of Caleb Williams, of course, I feel like he's going to go get him.
If you're going to
maybe it's just one, maybe it's just one, but that's my bold move. I think he's going to trade up rather than trade back from 9. I know it doesn't make a lot of sense. You want to recoup as much capital. I get that. But for me, I feel like to get 2 blue chip guys, one maybe offensively to pair with your young quarterback, and that could be a duo of the future along with, DJ fucking Moore. I think that would be awesome. So that's my bold prediction. Moving up from 9 a little bit.
I love that. If you're going to trade up, that's the area to trade up, right? Like realistically, I mean, you're going to at least on paper. Does that not fucking sound exciting? You talk about Saquon selling tickets. Boy, welcome to Chicago, you two. Yeah, like build the statues. Just kidding. But yeah, that would be a fun off season. But like you said, this offseason is about to be lit, man. I'm so ready.
No, dude. Finally, free agency is here.
Yeah, this is going to be great. I'm very excited about it. So,
yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, shout out to everyone that tuned in today. It was really fun. Again, road to 4,000 subs. We're super close on YouTube. So if you're enjoying the content, want to stick around for the offseason, go ahead and sub. Leave a like if you do anything tonight before you log off, because I know there's a lot of listeners here on YouTube. No, there's a lot across all platforms, but if you're on YouTube right now, if you can just do me a favor, hit that like button, comment if you like. We would really appreciate it. Apple, Spotify listeners, I want to show you guys some love. There's a lot of people out there that like to listen to podcasts the old fashioned way still. So, and I am one of those sometimes. Sometimes you can't always get the video, but if you can go ahead and, whether it's Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, rate the pod, leave a review. We would appreciate it. Shout out to Ficky, shout out to Jack, shout out to Ryan as well, the whole team here. You guys are amazing. I'm excited. It's going to be a really fun off season. Ficky, anything before we go, man?
I know I mentioned it last time, but we do have big news coming. Exciting stuff. Yep. Once we get closer to draft time.
Couple things. Not just one, too.
This isn't just one thing. It's going to be our own little free agency in essence, right? Yeah. Just big news after big news. But no, it's going to be exciting. I still can't believe the draft is so long away, but at least we get free agency to kind of fill the space. But
that's where mocks drafts really get serious, in my opinion, is after, free agency kind of slows up comes and passes, and you kind of find out what the needs are, like you said, Ficky. So
it's gonna be fun.
Follow the show on all socials, BFR_pod. I think that's every social now. So it's super easy. Twitter, TikTok. If you're in that, Instagram, of course, it's growing. Follow Ficky. It's Ficky Baby on all socials, and of course myself at Dave_BFR. And shout out to Sports Mockery. You can find out all the latest sports news over there. Great articles. Of course, you can find my work as well. All Chicago Bears related. but Sports Mockery, of course, for all your sports news. So again, shout out to you guys. We appreciate it. About an hour and 40 minutes. That's kind of short for us, honestly. But we appreciate everyone who tuned in, and we'll see you next week.
Peace.